and you will be here in London town,
Yay!
first speaking at our annual conversation with me on trust, the small topic of trust, and then joining us for our very first Many Answers Critical Thinking workshop, the
I'm
first
so excited.
one,
I
exploring
know.
how we communicate through uncertainty to build trust. There's a big theme of trust in all our conversations, Es.
There is a big theme of trust, the lack thereof, how to build it, why it's so hard. I actually think it's gotten more difficult and interesting in the 6 years since we did our first one question conversation.
Yeah.
And so I'm really excited to tackle it now.
Yeah, my God, so much has changed in those 6 years. So you joined us in 2019 to
That's
explore
right.
purpose achieves profit, but we flipped it so that purpose was political speech writing and profit was votes.
Right. And but we did it with Joe. So it was also polling.
That's
So,
right.
how opinion actually translates into votes.
Yeah. Okay, interesting. So politically and economically, everything has changed, and yet in some respects, so much has stayed the same.
Right, we're just living in the same day again and again. I actually think that it's funny when we did that first one question conversation together, and it was totally new to me. This whole concept of you get a bunch of people into a room, Chatham House rules, which I think is just British for snitches get stitches, and then you ask people this really pointed question, but you have people from different perspectives analyzing that same question. And you're pretty disciplined about not letting people get off that question. And we're really going to dig in this. And I remember thinking at the time, I wish more people could experience this in a really tangible way. And so I'm very excited to actually be turning this into a workshop with you because I think the conversations that you and I have all the time, that we know all the people in comms have all the time, uh, intersect exactly with both the theme of this year's one question, but also with what we're trying to do with this workshop, which is, I think, what I'm hoping to do is help people not just panic about the level of uncertainty and change that's happening and be super reactive, which I think is the thing I'm hearing from clients, from friends, everybody in comms. We're all feeling like we just need to react, whether it's to the insane news cycle, whether it's to the pressures that our bosses feel, the fact that, at least here in the States, the economy is incredibly uncertain and it feels like while the stock market is booming, people are losing their jobs left and right. And the political pressures are beyond compare. I think it does feel like we're in this really reactive moment. And so I am very excited to get together with, a pretty small group of people who do this day in and day out, seasoned folks, and dig into very tactical and strategic ways of not doing that anymore, not being reactive, getting ahead of this, thinking, helping your and frankly, I actually think. Sorry, I'm talking too long. But I think everybody, all you hear and see and read on sort of LinkedIn pablum is people talking about what AI will mean for their jobs. And to me, what communicators can bring in this moment is their judgment, their taste, their ability to communicate not in horrible chat GPT common denominator uh, blather, but sharply, precisely, persuasively, but also to be able to offer the C-suite our recommendations and our best judgment, which I think is still what we bring. Like the future of humans in AI is offering the best of humans, which is critical thinking and collaboration and creativity and the ability to see a whole range of issues and identify what matters most and using our judgment. And so I am very excited to be able to do this with the one question kind of not specter, but the one question framework kind of with us in the background, but then actually getting into a room and digging in with people. I don't know. What
I
do you
think,
think?
yeah, I think you're right. And I think there's two things there. And I agree with you. Obviously, as you know, I've put myself under a phenomenal amount of pressure over the years to how do we take those really important, sometimes they feel existential conversations, but actually, when you're in the room, you realize how tangible they are to our everyday. But how do we take that even further? And actually, for the people that are looking at what political uncertainty or even what cultural uncertainty, especially on the streets of the UK at the moment, is impacting on their business, on their supply chain, on their internal culture, and how they communicate within their organizations with teammates, but equally how they communicate out to audiences, and really distill that thinking and those moments into something that feels very, very tangible. And I think for the first time with these workshops, we can take these big conversations and these big questions and distill them even further to have that impact on somebody's career and life. And that for me is super exciting, because we're taking that big existential force, or sometimes what feels like a big existential force, and really bringing it down to what does that mean for us in our business today, and how do I advise my CEO or any number of stakeholders within our organization to navigate through that. So I think that is the thing that we are most excited about in sharing. And I think the AI thing is interesting, because I think the whole value, as you know, with one question about being in that room, and that is increasingly, time is as much of an investment these days as money. But the value that we get from being in conversation is worth its weight in gold these days, more so than ever before. And then I think in the face of AI, where increasingly so much of the relationships that we have and the work that we're doing is navigated through this sort of lens of technology and innovation, actually being able to step back and still use that as a tool, but bridge it with real life conversation, critical thinking, which might be the most important skill we need to fight the robots, is so important. So, in weirdly, I think the AI bit sits within the very structure of the new workshops that we're doing. But I think it's also, again, to your point, something that communicators now are navigating every single
I mean, I'm hearing this. I'm hearing all of this, the AI, the uncertainty, everything from the people I work with in every single sector. I mean, you would think that, maybe you'd hear it more from my tech clients, or maybe you'd hear it more from, but you're hearing it across the board with, nonprofits working in conflict areas, from public sector clients, politicians, industries, whether they're sort of legacy industries, manufacturing and that sort of thing, or, you're seeing it in the fashion industry and beauty. And I mean, truly, everybody I work with is facing these challenges. And honestly, I think the common denominator is uncertainty, just writ large. The feeling like I don't know what's going to happen, and therefore I'm going to be really risk averse. I'm going to hold my judgment. I'm going to give the bosses or whatever, shareholders what I think they want. That's going to rock the boat the least. And frankly, I mean, not to bring back AI, but I think that the tone and tenor and just nature of the AI that most people are interacting with, the sort of LLMs that most people are interacting with, encourages that, because it encourages a kind of softening and pulling out any provocation. And I think that just leads to a kind of emptiness and a sort of flattening of our ideas. So, and we're just so used to not interacting with others in a space that encourages this sort of thinking. And at the same time, I feel like we're talking about this as like, there's going to be this, big, deep conversations. And it is a workshop. We're going to put people to work, which I'm always excited to do. And, I've just spent years developing these really tangible, usable frameworks and things that people can do at work on Monday immediately. And that you can apply in your own life to just communicate better. So every time I get to do a workshop like this, I get very jazzed, but I'm particularly excited to do it with you, and through sort of your one question framework. It's very exciting to marry the two. And in London, which is, my favorite city in the world, as you know.
I do. Yeah. No, I think the thing for me, and I think the final point, which I know you share because we've talked about it, is finding nuances. I keep saying in every conversation, and I did a video this morning, is that we cannot keep using the same answers for new problems and new challenges because the world is signaling that they aren't working. And so I think the opportunity to find new answers that feel very tangible and very easy in some respects to adopt, but is just a different way of thinking and a different idea and a different perspective is really important right now because with it comes a certain amount of comfort, which I think we need.
Hmm, that's interesting. I I very much agree with you that we need new answers, which is why I love one question and many answers. And I think that most people are afraid to look for new answers because even if the world is sort of revealing that none of the old stuff is working, there it is scary to try something different. And so we're just going to hold on to what we have and hope that we don't get thrown off the ride. And I just I don't know how we persuade people that in the long run that's not going to be effective, but I'm here for that.
Well, I think,
So
yeah, I think it's the small bits and it's by doing the workshop. So come and join us 10th of October, 1:30. We will link more information in this. Ping us with any questions. Come and hang out with SP Squared.
it's going to be very fun and you will walk away with things you can actually use, I promise. And when else will you get a workshop with two curly haired SPs? That never happens. It's never happened.